Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news where we'll be talking the latest on Rangnick's obsession, I suppose. Well, obsession's the wrong word, but Rangnick advising Manchester United to go for Christopher Nkunku of RB Leipzig. We'll also be looking at the latest around Thomas Tuchel. Athletic have a story on him. I want to talk a little bit about what Ronaldo is apparently going to do next season, because to be honest with you, I don't believe it. But, you know, some people will go along with things that fit their agenda, as we know. I personally do not believe Ronaldo will be at the club next season if we're in the Europa League, and I'll talk about that why. And a few other things as well, but I've got to be honest, I don't feel it this morning. I'm moody, Bridge, this morning. I'm very not happy, Bridge, this morning. You will see in the link in the video description, there is a link to the Champions League draw, which I will be doing on That's Football. This should be on this channel this morning. It hit hard. Wednesday morning I was numb. Yesterday I was more angry than when I was Wednesday morning. This morning I'm even more angry than I was the previous two. I'm bloody fuming this morning. We're not in the Champions League draw. West Ham knocked Sevilla out last night. Sevilla are second in La Liga. West Ham are sixth, and they beat them. And we've been knocked out by Atletico Madrid. I just want to expand on how shit we are this season. And just before we get into the news, I just want to say as well, it seems to be the buzz thing at the moment to say, well, back in the day, we used to support our players, Beckham and Keane and Gary Neville, we used to support our players. It's not nice that Rashford and Maguire are being used as scapegoats. We used to get behind our players. And I'm like, oh my... And people are liking it and retweeting it. And I'm like, oh my God... This is the problem. I tell you what, I've got an infographic for you. Last 5 years, 0 trophies. Look at all the other big clubs around the world. Bayern Munich, Juventus, Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, PSG. Look at all the trophies they're winning. Well, back in the day we used to win bloody trophies. Back in the day, Beckham, Neville, Keane used to be like a fan on the pitch. They got it. There's nothing wrong with criticising players that are shit. Don't abuse them. Don't start bloody abusing them in a horrible way, but you've got every right to say they're shit footballers. We're rotten from top to bottom, and actually it needs moving away from the players. Look at that infographic that I tweeted this morning about cups. This is it's not even the players' fault. They shouldn't be here. They didn't walk up the bloody M6 and say, da-da, I'm here, I'm going to sort things out. We bought them. Everything goes back to the Glazers, basically. And I think that going in on these players because they're not good enough is absolutely fine, but ultimately look at the bigger picture. The club is a mess, but what I will not have is these plonkers rewriting history trying to say it's time to get behind the players. Swivel on it, double swivel on it. It's time to get behind the players. We've been getting behind these players all season, and for the last 3 or 4 years they ain't up to the task. Imagine if it was well, I'm not going to imagine it, because you could arguably say our midfield's not very good anyway, but they're just not good enough. There's nothing wrong with saying people aren't good enough. These prats who start going, well, back in the day we used to get behind our players. Come on. You don't. If somebody walks in the middle of Old Trafford and does a big crap on the centre circle, you're going to applaud it. We used to see Rooney banging it in the top corner, Beckham whipping in across for Dwight York, Cantona, Hughes, Keane, Robson, all these great players that have played in United shirts, and you want us to applaud 11 festering turds. Like, it's competitive sport. These people moaning about it, you know where they belong in the summer? Non-competitive sports day, where everybody's a winner. There is no winner. Everybody who took part is a winner. We applaud them all. Well, I tell you what, you piss off to your non-competitive sports day, and football fans in the Premier League who want to win trophies will want to go in with the prom queen or king. That's what it's all about. It's about winning. It's a competitive sport. That's why there's so much bloody football and money in it. These footballers wouldn't be earning 200 grand a week if everybody was the winner. Let's applaud them all. They're trying their best. Standards need to go up. You always get it in the modern day, though. As soon as somebody gets criticised, there's always the dissenting voice. Well, I don't think we should be criticising them. They're trying their best. It's time to support them. What do you think we've been doing all season? It's like you have to feel guilty for demanding standards. I mean, God, I haven't worked in an office environment for ages, but if somebody does a bad job and costs you loads of money and you know nearly the company goes bankrupt, oh, don't worry, let's all go out for a drink tonight and applaud you because you tried your best. It goes to say how far this club has fallen, and the road to recovery is going to be a long and painful one. Hanging on hope is all we've got, says Terry. Well, the first step forward for me is getting the right manager in, and I will applaud them if they get Ten Hag. But on with the news show, a little mini rant, but it is 6 years without a trophy, Derry. I mean, the Q&A show tonight's going to be very good, isn't it? I tell you what, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, and I'll have had a drink. Tune in tonight at 8 o'clock for that. But I am doing a Champions League draw. That's going to be a lot of fun. Miserable bridge for that. I've dropped the link in the video description, and let's get on with the news show. But, you know, look, everybody's got their own pet hates. Everyone's got their own right to a voice, and I've got no problem with people who say it's time to get behind the players. I don't think it's right to keep calling them shit. But the reality is, everyone else, that's just your opinion. Stop trying to brainwash people with your snowflake FC approach. Like, ultimately, I did a video a few weeks ago in the head-to-head series. It's not scapegoating to say Delo's better than Wan-Bissaka. It's not scapegoating to say Lindelof's better than Maguire. It's not scapegoating when these players are factually playing bad. That's not scapegoating. What that is, you don't like the fact that people are constantly going on about certain players. But they're constantly going on at certain players because they have proven to have had a bad season. I can keep doing the head-to-heads. People can keep writing articles. They're playing badly. And you want to applaud them for it. All the news around Eric feels like spin. Would love it, but the United board are specialist in failures. More heartbreak than a bull in a china shop, says Edward Walters. And I want to talk about Nkunku. Soft week generation mark. By the way, did you hear about them perhaps getting closer to buying their own cricket franchise? Should be focusing on us, says Raz. I want to talk about this cricket thing with the Glazers. It's not a headline story to talk about this morning, but I do want to talk about it because ultimately, I really think the fan base needs to stop arguing with itself. I don't care if you like the United Stand. I don't care whether you like another website. I don't care if you can't stand fan opinion at all and you just want to get your news from the Athletic and the Telegraph and everything like that. But I'll tell you what, they're fed by the club. So you might not like fan opinion, but at least it keeps things vocal around what's important. It's like when the protests happened last year, there was a lot of people who got in contact with us and we had conversations with people. They don't like fan media, but ultimately we all came together for the greater good to get the voice out there, and look at what it did. We need to get the focus back on the ownership of the club. It is the only thing. I don't always agree with what Gary Neville's got to say. I don't always agree with a lot of the ex-players, but what I do agree with is that they do care about the football club, and they're absolutely correct. It is really about the owners of the football club, and they're just not good enough. They're just not good enough. But look, let's get it onto the news. We'll come back to that in a minute. I want to talk about the first two stories I want to talk about really are one in the Athletic about Tuchel. Basically, they're saying that Thomas, and it's not Laurie Whitwell, it's not Man United, it's more Chelsea-based Athletic news really. So they're basically saying that there's a lot of uncertainty around Chelsea at the moment, and Thomas Tuchel's been open with the players that at the moment they just don't know what the future's going to be. And I don't think Chelsea's future is going to be bad, by the way, but what I do think is that they might have problems with whoever they go with as their owner, because as we know, you can get an owner who buys your club and ruins your club. You can also get an owner like Newcastle and Man City who are just very, very rich and obsessed with winning things. So Chelsea don't know what sort of owner they're going to get, and that leads to uncertainty. And if they get the wrong sort of owner, then I suppose Thomas Tuchel could, and players could start to leave. Manchester United's latest on Thomas Tuchel is that Ralph Rangnick is a big admirer, Manchester United are a big admirer, and they have had discussions about if Tuchel became available, could they do anything? My feeling is that the timing would not be right for Tuchel anyway. United need to act in the next 2 weeks, and Thomas Tuchel's not going to move in the next 2 weeks. So it's a big no. Something amazingly huge would have to happen for that to happen. I'm not saying that Thomas Tuchel won't leave Chelsea. I don't think he will. But even if he did, the timing is not going to be right. So I really think we need to avoid these conversations. We talk about spin and we talk about being manipulated, and that to me feels like a bit of a story that we've had a bad season, we've knocked out the Champions League, let's attach ourselves to a manager that's doing really well. Because ultimately, if you work in the world of communications and marketing, if you can latch on to something that's positive, they're called trends, aren't they? If you can latch yourself onto a trend, then you're going to do well. There's this funny clip on TikTok last night. I kept seeing loads of clips of it. It was so funny. Basically, it's this voice of someone going like, sometimes I swear, really, yeah. What do you say? Fuck. And everyone's just like mouth leaping. It's something like that. They're all mouth lipping to it. So there'll be somebody with a small TikTok account who's done that, and they'll get a lot of views from it because they're jumping on a trend. And I think that's what I know that's what Manchester United do. So Thomas Tuchel, Chelsea, it's a trend at the moment. Will Chelsea survive? Will they get a new manager? Man United attach themselves to that story, and you get positivity from it. So I don't believe it that Thomas Tuchel is going to happen. More interestingly, I think that what is interesting is the story about Nkunku that's coming out from Germany. So Nkunku is a player that's been linked to Manchester United. So what can I tell you about Nkunku? Well, I spoke to somebody about this about a month ago, and I mentioned it on the channel. There's nothing to hide about this. I think sometimes I can't remember who was on about this, but they're absolutely correct. I think when you look at Ralf Rangnick, and everybody's got a different personality. I'm sure, even though most of us have never met and we may never meet, because you hopefully watch the channel a lot, you probably have a grasp of what you think I am as a person. And I think with Ralf Rangnick, we do get a grasp as well. And I'm constantly saying after his press conferences, whatever you think about his team selections, and he definitely got it wrong, I believe, on Tuesday night, and he has got it wrong in the past, I think he's got a lot right, and I do like him, and I think he's the best manager we've had certainly since Mourinho, by a very, very long way. And he's also very honest. And somebody said it this week, and I can't remember where it was. They were basically saying that Ralf Rangnick inherently, clearly can't lie, which is not a bad trait. It's not a bad trait. And he's a very honest person. And I think that what we have noticed over the last 3 or 4 months is that there is a strand of honesty coming out United, which fans have latched onto, because we're not an honest football club. We're a deceiver. We're a manipulator. We don't tell the truth. 3-year cultural reset was not a 3-year cultural reset. It was a 3-year massive step backwards. But with Rangnick coming into the club, we have had strands of honesty. There's a lot of things that have happened since Rangnick's come into that club that have exposed things. Even the dressing room leaks, which we didn't like, exposed what the players were. We always thought those players couldn't be trusted and weren't good enough, but we've also now found out that a lot of them are Di Marias. They're snakes. That's all come out in the Rangnick era. It's a big negative, but it's all come out in that. There's a lot of things that have come out, and I think a lot of it is to do with the fact that Ralf Rangnick is just inherently honest. Are you fully against Ralf staying as manager, says King? I'll talk about that in a minute, King, because we're just sort of working on that. I'd like to see United buy Rudiger on a free. I would like to think this will give Maguire fierce competition for a height fight for his spot, says Slow Sports News. So, let's talk about Nkunku. So, Nkunku, I believe, I think I wrote it down somewhere. 24. So he's 24 years of age. He's having a fantastic season at Leipzig. He's got 15 goals and 11 assists in 26 games, which ain't bad going for the Bundesliga. But I think with Akanji and Nkunku and Rudiger, my point was that you can take the honesty that's come from Ralf Rangnick and attach it to those. It's no secret that Man United, because Rangnick's now part of the club, like Akanji, like Rudiger, like Nkunku, the big question is, are they going to listen to this manager? And to this manager that we have at the moment, are they going to listen to Ralf Rangnick, and is he going to be a part of our future? And if they do listen to him, then Nkunku could well end up wearing a Manchester United shirt next season. So could Rudiger if he leaves Chelsea. So could Akanji, and Ten Hag could well end up being our manager. Now, I can't guarantee this, but from conversations I was having yesterday, quite numerous conversations, Ten Hag would be Rangnick's preferred choice if it's between Pochettino and Ten Hag. Now, that some people would say, well, that's not rocket science, because if you look at the way that Ten Hag plays football, then Rangnick would prefer that. But it's also the way Ten Hag has built football clubs. I believe, in my opinion, that a lot of the stories that were coming out yesterday about he's the preferred choice, Man United are impressed by the fact that he's built 2 or 3 teams at Ajax, his ability in the transfer market, his style of play, his suitability for long-term projects. This, to me, feels like this is Rangnick. I don't think he's the only one in the club, but it feels to me that Rangnick is saying, look, this is the guy to go for. And obviously you've got board members who know very little about modern football saying Pochettino, and I think that's the battle that is going on at the moment. It's all about whether Manchester United are going to listen to Ralf Rangnick. It's all about whether Manchester United are going to move Ralf Rangnick on. Now, I'm going to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo in a moment, and my feeling has always been that there's not a great relationship between Cristiano Ronaldo and Ralf Rangnick, and I think that's a shame. But I want to talk about Ronaldo in a couple of minutes' time. So, Nkunku to Manchester United. Do I think this could happen? Yes, I do. He's got a contract at Leipzig till 2024. German outlets are linking him to us. It's not the first time. I don't think this is a secret that Ralf Rangnick has probably recommended to Manchester United that they sign Nkunku this summer. The interesting thing is why. We're also linked to Diaby, the wide forward at Leverkusen. Now, it's quite interesting because we've been linked to Anthony at Ajax as well, and there feels to me like United are not happy with their attacking options. And look, Greenwood is an issue. We know that. Whether he should play for United ever again, regardless of what happens with the court case, is up for debate. So you've almost got to forget about that. And to be honest, I'm happy to forget about that because it's not a nice thing to have to think about. Which leaves you with Sancho, Rashford, and obviously and Alanga, and you've got problems with Rashford, of course. And even if he finds his form, is his form going to be good enough? The interesting thing about Nkunku is that he ticks so many boxes if he can adapt to the Premier League. I see Nkunku as an attacking midfielder. I think he's got everything to his game. He can shoot, he can dribble, he can hold it up, he can pass. There's not many weaknesses to his game in the Bundesliga. Whether he can adapt that to the Premier League or not, I don't know. In many ways, Nkunku's not different, not dissimilar to what we did with Bruno. We brought Bruno over when I think he was 24. He was doing really well in Portugal. We brought him over and he did really well. Nkunku is definitely the same sort of player, not like for like, but he's ready to take that step up, and he fits the profile of the sort of player that Rangnick would recommend. He can also play multiple positions. You can almost play him as a sort of striker at times if you wanted to. I wouldn't advise that, but you can do. You can also play him off the wide, off either position. So he's very good in many ways if you're going to lose Paul Pogba and you're not sure about your wide players, because you could play Nkunku off the right and have Bruno as the 10. You could play him as the 10. You could play him off the left. There's lots of opportunities, and he's a player that could really make a big difference to this United squad. So be interesting to see. If you're asking me whether I think we'll sign him or not, probably not, but I do think he's a very interesting player. And he is a very physical player as well, Savage. So the price tag, unfortunately, his contract is 2024. But Leipzig don't necessarily always get huge money for their players. And I know Werner had a release clause, and I think Upamecano and Konate may well have been coming towards the end of their contracts. But I think around 40 million quid for him is not a bad deal. And that's exactly the sort of player that we should be looking at for 40 million quid. So I do like the look of Nkunku. I'm not going to mess about. And I think he would open up a lot of options. I do like Patrick Schick, Mr. Struddy. What striker we're going to go for, I don't know. 60 million euros to Samantia, but that's just paper talk. I know 60 million euros for Nkunku is about 53 million quid. I don't think it would be that much. I think it'd be somewhere between 40 and 50 million quid. And to be honest, in the modern day, that's not unrealistic for a player like that. The interesting thing is, are United going to go for a player like that? We're hearing about midfielders, we're hearing about centre-backs, we're hearing about strikers. We're not really hearing about that sort of a player. But I think in Nkunku, if he works, he can play in multiple positions. There wouldn't be a reason to drop him, is what I'm saying. If you want to play Bruno as a 10, you can play Nkunku off the right, or you can play him off the left. You could even play him in the midfield too. You could certainly, I think, play him as a sort of false 9 sort of thing as well. So there's lots of options. I think if Rangnick was the coach, he'd probably play Nkunku in Ronaldo's position and say, look, just press from the front. So there you go. 40,000 likes on your Tamori tweet. Well, it's because I've nailed it with that, haven't I? A very surprising tweet to do well, but I nailed it. He should have been called up for England. So that's on Nkunku. I just want to talk about Ronaldo very quickly. I know they spoke about it on the show last night. Good debut for Holly, who does our fan cams. She was on the fan forum last night. Well done. Good show. They spoke about Ronaldo. So the Ronaldo thing is coming from a journalist that some people think is quite close to Ronaldo, and basically says that Ronaldo has decided to fulfil the remaining year of his contract with Manchester United. He trusts in the arrival of a guaranteed coach and the reinforcements to inspire to win the Premier League and the Champions League the next campaign. That story's a load of bollocks. People were getting really excited about this. It's a load of bollocks. It's got more holes than Swiss cheese. That is absolute bollocks story. What it is, it's a holding statement. You know, if the government have a problem and they haven't solved the problem, but you need to say something publicly. So you say, look, you just say something. It's a holding statement until you sort something out. That is a holding statement from Ronaldo, even if that's come from Ronaldo. That journalist apparently is quite close to Ronaldo, but it's full of holes. The first one for me, he trusts in the arrival of a guaranteed coach and in reinforcements to inspire us to win the Premier League and the Champions League. We're not winning the Premier League next year, and we probably won't even be in the Champions League. So Ronaldo's staying with it. So basically, if you summarise this, Ronaldo's decided to stay for another year because he believes in the new coach and the signings we're going to make, which will help us win the Premier League and the Champions League next year. Utter bollocks. And people swallow it. It's utter We're not winning the Premier League next year. Never going to happen. Just not going to happen. And it's impossible to win the Champions League if you're not in it. We're not going to start off in the Conference League and they're going to go, God, you're really good. We're going to parachute you into the quarterfinals of the Champions League. We're not going to be in the Champions League as things stand. And we're certainly not going to win the Premier League. But people want to take... It's like when somebody serves you up a roast dinner. I don't really like the peas, don't really like the carrots. I'll eat the roast potatoes and I'll have a bit of that meat. But I ain't eating that stuffing and I do not want any mashed potato. So some people are like this about stories, aren't they? They read a quote about Ronaldo. They think, I will believe the bit where he says he's staying for another year, but all the other crap in there about winning the Premier League and making good signings and winning the Champions League, that's preposterous. But I'll believe the bit at the start. I just think it's a pure holding statement. I want Ronaldo to stay. I think he's very important. I think in the dressing room he's made a big difference. Obviously, a lot of negativity's come from that, but that's because crap players have had a kick up the arse and they've acted like crap players in causing problems. But I think that what the Ronaldo situation is, and we've spoken to Fabrizio Romano about this, if you know Cristiano Ronaldo, and I've been saying this for weeks, he won't make a decision now. He's not speaking to Real Madrid or PSG now. He's never been like that. He doesn't do that. He will wait till the summer. But that flips both ways. Any statement about him leaving in the summer now is nonsense. But any story about him staying next season now is nonsense. He will make his mind up in the summer. There was similar noise around him at Juventus last year. Oh, he's going to go, he's going to stay for another year, this, that and the other. Ultimately, he left. I think he went into that summer and he didn't know what he was doing. And I think the same thing will happen again. If I can't see, for the life of me, Cristiano Ronaldo playing Thursday night football in Astana. I just can't see him playing Europa League or Conference League football on a Thursday night. Sat there watching people playing the Champions League while he's playing Thursday night football. I might have read this completely wrong, but I don't think Mr. Champions League, one of the greatest players that's ever lived, who's coming towards the end of his career, is going to waste a year in the Europa League. I just do not think he will be able to get his head around that. So unless we get Champions League football, I don't think he'll be here. But I don't also think it's worth talking or debating a Ronaldo situation, because it's like predicting the winner of the Gold Cup at Cheltenham today. Until they've passed the finishing line, nobody knows. It's just all noise. And that Ronaldo story yesterday, I mean, again, the timing of it's brilliant. The United fans are pissed off. They're fed up. We're not in the Champions League today. We're knocked out on Tuesday. Oh, there's a story that Ronaldo's staying for another year. I can only lead a horse to water. It's up to you to drink it. But you spend enough time around this football club, you spend enough time around disappointment, and you see a lot of positive stories coming out straight after disappointment. And is that just another example? We had Ten Hag in the morning. He's the preferred choice, but no final decision's been made. So basically no decision. And then we've got Ronaldo's going to stay for another year to win the Premier League and the Champions League, but he'll never make his mind up till the summer because he doesn't know what position we're going to be in. He might be out of the way. He might miss out on his... I mean, look, next week for Ronaldo's really big. If Portugal don't make it to the World Cup, do you think he's going to miss out? Do you think he's going to sit there in the summer and go, I'm not going to the World Cup in December and I'm not playing in the Champions League, but hey, I'm going to stay here because we might win the league? This is a very changeable situation, but I tell you what's not changeable. When there's negativity around United, if a story comes out about Ronaldo staying for another year, people will buy season tickets. People might buy a shirt. I'm not saying that's coming from United, but it's all very convenient that we get these positivity stories when we're on our knees. What about this meeting that our board and Ten Hag will be having on Monday? Mate, I think we're going to be in silly season over the next couple of weeks. I can imagine we're going to get linked to a lot of players that we're apparently buying, but it's impossible to buy them all. And there will be conversations with Ten Hag and Pochettino over the next 2 weeks. I'm absolutely convinced about it. Whether people can put dates and times on it, fine, fair play. But 100% those conversations will take place with at least one of them. As I've said, Ten Hag is the easiest deal to do. Ajax will say you can talk to him. Ten Hag will want to talk to United. If we offer him the right package, he will accept it, and that deal can be done in the next 2 weeks. Pochettino will say he wants the job. United will want Pochettino, but whether PSG are going to let them have him on the cheap when they probably want to sack him in the summer and make him see the season out is different. Ten Hag's the easier deal to do. The fan base want Ten Hag. I'm pretty sure that Rangnick and people who know anything about football in that club want Ten Hag, but we will also run by a board that has proven itself to be consistently incompetent and owners who just haven't got a clue what they're doing. So it's up in the air, but the next 2 weeks are huge and they're crucial because you can't really wait beyond the next 2 weeks because, as I said, there are clubs playing in the Champions League quarterfinals in early April that if they get knocked out might look for a new manager, and if they look for a new manager they might look at Ten Hag. United's social media team had the audacity to upload a 10-second clip of Fred's skills on YouTube after we got embarrassed by Atletico. It makes my blood boil. Thanks for all you do, Mark, says Pritton. Well, Fred's having a bit of a renaissance at the moment, but if I'm absolutely blunt, Fred epitomises the problems at Manchester United, and it's not his fault. There are other players that epitomise the problems at United. Harry Maguire epitomises the problems at United, spending a ridiculous amount of money, ridiculous wages, ridiculously long contract, and then we're stuck with them. That epitomises United. Big waste of money and stuck with a problem. But I think Fred, in a different way, epitomises United. He played really well against Spurs. He played reasonably well against Atletico Madrid, and suddenly he's a fan favourite again. But across the season, he's probably only played well in, and I might be pushing it a bit here, he's probably only played well in 15 to 20% of his games, which means in 80% of his games to 85% of his games, he's not played well. But he's a hero again now because he's done a few flicks. Oh, Fred gets it. Oh, it's not Fred's fault he's not been played in the right system. It's the Pogba effect again, isn't it? Oh, we need a team around him. That's why he's not playing well. And Fred's the same now. Fred. Oh, it was never his fault that he couldn't control it. It was never his fault that he was getting bounced off the ball like a beach ball. It was because he was playing in the wrong position. But ultimately, it's not. Doesn't matter where you play, your first touch should be good. Doesn't matter where you play, your passing should be consistent. Doesn't matter where you play, you should be picking up your runners. Doesn't matter where you play, you shouldn't be getting out-muscled by people. So Fred has weaknesses to his game. He's a well-liked player and he's played really, really well at the moment. But when we champion players like this, we accept the standards of what we are. The standard of Fred, to me, is he wouldn't start for Liverpool, he wouldn't start for Man City, and he wouldn't start for Chelsea. And those are the three clubs in this country that are the title contenders, in my mind, over the last 3 years, and probably over the next 3 years. And also, they're the clubs that are capable of winning the Champions League. So we can all cheer Fred and go, oh, love the flick, oh, he played well against Spurs. But can he do that for 60 games a year? He can't even do it for 10. He's a squad player. He's a likeable squad player with merits. He's not a starter in a team that wants to win titles. But because the club will clip up a little clip of him doing a little flick and they want to give him a new contract, it's manipulation. And people don't see it for what it is. They'll see the clip and go, oh yeah, he should start next season, Fred. He's the right man, Fred. He smiles, he's got it. You know, we've released the real Fred now, but he still can't pass. He still doesn't track his runners. He still gets bounced off the ball, and he's still very, very inconsistent. And he's still never going to be good enough to play for the bigger clubs that are winning things. So he should be sat on our bench. But no, let's clip it up. The club, these social media admins, heads of communications, heads of social media, whatever, they are as to blame as any player that's played bad this year. Because they brainwash our fans with these little clips. Oh yeah, let's get some interaction. Somebody sent me a brilliant email yesterday and they're absolutely spot on. They said the problem you have, Mark, and the problem that other United fans have is that you think that everybody in that football club should be a fan and should care about Manchester United. You think the head of social media, the head of communications, the chief negotiator, the fitness guy, they should all be Man United fans because they should all feel like you do and they should all care. And when they finish their job, they should be at home thinking, how can I do it tomorrow? I've got to get United back on top. But that's not how Manchester United is run. Manchester United is a corporate entity. So when Man United want a head of social, they'll go and appoint a Wolves fan. When they want a head of communication, they'll go and appoint somebody who doesn't even like football. When they want a chief negotiator, they'll go and appoint a Rangers fan. Now, that's all hypothetical, but what I'm saying is they'll appoint who they think is best for that role. Being a Man United fan is not important. Now, in some ways, if I'm a United fan and I want to be head of communication and somebody's better qualified than me, they maybe should get the job because they're better qualified than me. But if it's quite close, they should give me the job because I'm going to go the extra mile because it matters to me. Does the boss of, does the head of communication at British Gas really, does he have British Gas in his house? Probably because he gets a good rate, but he might have N-Power or some other thing. Do you know what I'm on about? That's what I'm on about. These people who are clipping up these clips and manipulating you, they're doing it because they've got algorithms on how to do it. They're not doing it because they're United fans. They're not doing it because they believe Fred can win us a title. They're doing it because somebody somewhere is telling them, clip that up. On previous tweets, those sort of clips do really well. Clip it up. That's why you sometimes get something in McTominay, something in Maguire, and people go, oh, why are they doing it? Why are they doing it? They're doing it because they've got an algorithm of, last time we did somebody doing a clip like that for a couple of minutes on YouTube, it banged. We're manipulated because the club is run by people who are interested in manipulating customers because it's all corporate. You go through United, there will be a lot of people in high positions who don't even give a shit about this football club. They're just in it because they've been employed off a good CV. The problem with that is that they're not fans of the club. They don't live and breathe it like us, and they'll always frustrate us for it. Did you hear the story coming out about the board wanting to sack Rangnick and abandoning the director of football role agreement entirely? I give up, says Iram. I wouldn't be surprised, Iram, if they did that. I've sensed that that Rangnick's been too honest at that football club, and I've sensed that there might be a problem there. We need more footballing people. Rangnick has to be listened, a clear vision, a clear project, then the recruitment of a manager and players will be easy, otherwise it's a waste of time again, says Ferhat. Why is the board never in the public eye? They are the problem and have never had to justify themselves, says ABC. Well, I think it's going to be a good show tonight because people are making a lot of good comments, and obviously on a Friday night show it's a bit more of a Q&A. But I think the issue with Rangnick that the club have is that when you're a badly run club and you've got bad players and bad coaches and the club is nowhere near it needs to be, you bring anybody in who knows what they're doing and they're going to upset people. And that's what happened. That's what's happened. Rangnick's not done a bad job. He's done an impossible job. He's come into a situation that is actually impossible to fix in an interim role. It's too long term. You can't do it short term. But also, he will have come in and said, well, that's not being done right. That player's not good enough. This is happening. That's happening. You need to bring this in. If you keep doing this, you're going to get worse and worse. The problem is, these people have been in role for 9 years. A lot of them have been there for years and years. So when Rangnick says, well, that player never should have been bought, why are we doing it like this, why are we doing like that, the people he's saying it to are the people who've bought that player or implemented that structure. So he will upset people. And the thing is, if you've got very arrogant, naive people running your football club, when somebody comes in and says you've been doing it wrong, they'll go, well, get rid of him. We don't want him then. What does he know? What's he on about? Do you think or trust United's board to go, look, we've made mistakes. This is a guy who knows how to rebuild a football club. Hands up, we made those decisions. We want to listen to you and work with you to build our football club again. That's what needs to happen. But I think what's actually happened is Rangnick's come in and he's upset a lot of people with his honesty, and they've gone, well, we don't want him, he's a troublemaker. When actually, he's just exposing the truth. So it's a very interesting next few weeks and months ahead. If Rangnick stays, I think we will bring in people like Nkunku and some really good players to step us forward, and hopefully we'll get Ten Hag. But the alternative is, and I still think the board are pushing for this, I think they want to remove Rangnick. I think they want to remove these transfer options like Nkunku. I think they want to bring Pochettino in, who's basically just a pimped up hyper version of Ollie, who will be a puppet, and then buy Harry Kane. Let's just do what we've been doing for 9 years. Let's get a manager in who we can control, and let's buy a shirt seller. And I think that is the interesting thing over the next weeks. And that's why I said yesterday, if we do appoint Ten Hag, I will give it the credit it deserves. Not because I just think he's the right man for United, but also because I think it would be a big step forward from this board to do something that they clearly haven't done. Ten Hag is the option that the fans want, that Rangnick would want, the way the club needs to go to rebuild. Pochettino is the last 9 years. Pochettino represents everything that is wrong about United over the last 9 years. It doesn't mean he's not the right choice for some people, but he's what we've done before. Ten Hag is a step forward. It's down to the board to decide. It really is. And they could well... I don't know what's going to happen. They could well remove Rangnick. And if they're going to remove Rangnick, expect to see more negative stories about Rangnick over the next few weeks. Players aren't happy with him, and he's not the right man, and this, that, and the other. It's going to be very, very interesting. But see it for what it is. Dig a little bit deeper. And as I said, these people... The reality is the problem at Manchester United has always been the Glazers. It always will be the Glazers and the board that they have in place. They're not the right people to run this football club. And Gary Neville said it yesterday. You lot have been saying it for years. It's the truth. They are there making decisions that impact on our season, and we've won nothing in 5 years, and it's going to be 6 years. Or miles away from where we need to be. And if the Glazers are looking to buy a cricket club, it says everything about what the Glazers are. Why even get angry if the Glazers are trying to buy a cricket club? They bought a football club. I don't care if they buy a cricket club. They'll know nothing about cricket. It's just that they can make a lot of money. They know nothing about football. Why are people getting angry about the Glazers trying to buy a cricket club? They did it to us 15 years ago, or however many years ago it was. They don't know anything about football. They just saw it. It's a business opportunity. And if they're going to get a cricket club, it's a business opportunity. There's probably a lot of money being made in cricket in India. And that's probably why they want to buy one. They want money. Premier League was making a lot of money. Man United, let's buy them. That's all. They're just doing what they've done before. Why would you be surprised? Why would you be shocked? Anyway, look, I'm going to continue the conversation. I've got to get over onto That's Football for the Champions League draw, which should have been on this channel if we weren't run by a shower of idiots. And so yeah, click the link in the description. I'm live there in about 2 minutes time, and we can continue the chat there for the Champions League draw. Thanks everyone for watching. 8 o'clock tonight for the Q&A. I might have a video for this afternoon. TOSFC is back at 3 o'clock as well. But join me over on That's Football and we'll continue the chat. Make sure you smash a like on this video. Thanks for watching.